Welcome to Creators. This is Wendy.
And this is Amanda.
Today's cast, Brainstorming with a High I.
The questions this cast answers are: how do high I's approach brainstorming? How do you manage a high I during brainstorming meetings? And as a high I, how do you best contribute to a brainstorming meeting?
If you want the answers to these questions and more, keep listening.
Just a second. Before we start our podcast, Canadians, we're going to soon be in Vancouver, BC, March 6th and 7th with the Effective Manager and Effective Communicator conferences. Check us out online, manager-tools.com/register. Now to the show.
If you listened last week, I explained the origins of brainstorming. So if you missed it, there was a guy, an advertising guy in the 1940s, whose name was Alex Osborne, who came up with the idea of brainstorming. And that's not to say that teams weren't brainstorming before. He just gave it a name and a concept, which has allowed other people to follow on and refine that over time so that it's the most useful it can be. And because of that, brainstorming has become the way we come up with ideas in teams. And each empty disk profile approaches it differently because each empty disk profile has another different way of approaching work. So high I's love it because it's all about ideas and people and we can all get together. High C's would rather not participate because really other people's ideas. They don't have the right information. Why are we even doing this? But it is a useful idea for gathering new ideas, and you need all of the profiles in order to get really good ideas because each one brings something different. So what we want to do is make the most of the talent in the group, whether you're a high I yourself and you're attending a brainstorming, or you're a high I and you're a facilitator, or you're a facilitator of one of the other styles and you have high I's in your group. And in this cast, we're going to talk about how to harness the high I energy.
So what we're going to talk about today is, first, a quick introduction to DISC. Then, how to set and follow ground rules. After that, keep the brainstorming short. Then, how to channel their and or your energy. And then lastly, use their enthusiasm or your enthusiasm for the idea. If you don't know, DISC is a behavioral assessment tool that uses 2 axes to identify each person's preferred style of communication. You have assertive, reserved, and then you have task or people-focused. Those assertive people speak loudly and quickly, make large gestures, and believe that you can change the environment around them. Those are our high D's and high I's. Those who are reserved speak more cautiously, slowly, and quietly. They make small gestures, typically within their body space, and believe that one person's want do not outweigh the needs of the many. So they're more concerned with the group as a whole. And these are high S's and high C's. So the high D's and I's are assertive folks, and our high S's and C's are reserved.
And so on the other axis, there are those who are focused on the tasks to be done, who walk into meetings and say what needs to be done, and they mentally check off that list. Once all of those things are done, they want to leave the meeting. The people-focused individuals ask who is here, and they make time to connect before they do the work. And when all the tasks are done, they're like, yeah, free time, let's just talk. High D's and C's are task-focused, and I's and S's are people-focused.
And we're talking about high I's today, and it's taking every ounce of my energy to not go whole high I mode on this podcast. Just so everybody is aware, I'm going to apologize ahead of time because high I's energies, just talking about it, gets me excited. So there's that.
So putting those 2 axes together, high D's are assertive and task-focused. High I's are assertive and people-focused. High S's are reserved and people-focused. And high C's are reserved and task-focused. And if you don't know why we sometimes say DISC and sometimes say empty disk, DISC is a concept that's been around since the 1930s. And Manager Tools has its own DISC tool and DISC profile system. So if you don't know which one you are, you can go to our website and take the profile and find out which letter you are and how to work best with the people with other profiles. And you can also find hundreds of podcasts about each profile type and how to deal with different situations as those profiles.
Or if you want to join a day of training with me, this is my favorite day of training. You can come to a conference. I would love to have you.
Go to the Effective Communicator Conference with Amanda and you'll know everything in 8 hours. And next day, you'll have amazingly improved relationships. And I say that because that's how much it changed what I was doing when I first learned it. So having given you an idea what DISC is, let's talk about these brainstorming meetings. And the first thing, if you are a high I or you have high I's in your group, set and follow ground rules. Conventional ground rules for brainstorming are things like no interrupting, all ideas are captured, and our Manager Tools peanut butter rule, which is no negative comments about other people's ideas. Or if you say peanut butter, I'm going to put it on the list, even though I have no idea why you said it. And then after we've done the idea phase, then we'll talk about what you meant by peanut butter. So anything goes on the list, don't criticize it. And if you're a facilitator, setting and enforcing the ground rules will mean that your high I's will at least leave space for others to talk, because high I's are very happy to fill in the space when other people could be talking. The news people or people that you see on the news are often high I's. They're the people that can keep talking, even when absolutely nothing is happening. They just seem to be able to keep filling the airwaves. That's a high I. And if you need to convince a high I why we have these ground rules, well, one reason is all your fabulous ideas will be heard, because we're going to have ground rules that mean one person talks at a time. We'll hear your ideas and they'll be written down. And we know, all of your ideas are fabulous, high I.
They also like to use different colors to document different ideas.
Mm-hmm.
It's fun, right? Make brainstorming fun. And high I's love working with others, and this amplifies their natural idea generation machine. The more people around, the more ideas they can come up with, because high I's have a gift for knowing a lot of details about a lot of people. And so they're going to come up with an idea that would work for you and you and you and you, because they know that those connections that they make with others is great. So they can generate a lot of ideas. And the more energy in the room, the more the ideas will just flow out of the high I's, because the more excited they get, the more excited they want you to get, and they can't stop.
Mm-hmm.
Can't stop, won't stop, right? They just go. Now, however, because they can be loud, talk quickly, and don't mind interrupting or speaking over people, their enthusiasm can sometimes prevent others from being heard. Because if they can't get a word in, other people can't share their ideas. And high I's don't mean to dominate. It's just that they're so excited to hold themselves back, because they are excited about the process, the people involved, that ideas are flowing, that they're excited that something new is going to be going on. And as much as they want people to be heard and make those connections, sometimes that excitement overwhelms other profiles in the group.
And D's and I's literally don't hear themselves interrupting people. S's and C's can hear it every time and are like, why are you breaking the rules of conversation? D's and I's literally don't hear themselves interrupting. So it's not rudeness, it's not deliberate, but it just is. They just don't hear themselves. And so if you set ground rules, you can hold the group to the standard. Like, these are the ground rules we agreed. You just broke one. Stop doing that. And enforcing them isn't personal. It's just maintaining the agreed upon structure of the meeting. And if you want to be persuasive for a high I, tell them the rules are part of how we make sure we hear all your great ideas and they're captured. Because it would be really sad for a high I to have all those great ideas and then for them just to be lost in the ether. So, for example, you can tell them, one person speaking at a time ensures that we capture all ideas accurately. No interrupting means we hear your complete idea before someone else interrupts you. Well, if the high I is allowed to complete their idea without being interrupted, you can then say, hey, now you need to stop interrupting. So this other person, this high S, who will stop talking every time so they're interrupted, can get their idea out.
Another example is making sure we hear each idea, which means we can build on another's idea. So even more teamwork, which high I's love. If they have a good idea, they can let other people finish, and then you can start building on ideas. Also, staying on topic means that we can finish the idea and move on to something new sooner. So if we can limit the amount of time spent just on one idea, we can get more ideas generated quicker, which that's always exciting, something new, something different to talk about, something to throw around. That can also be very helpful in keeping them on track.
For other styles, this guidance about holding a high eye back from talking might seem like we're asking them to contribute less or mask their natural tendencies. But high eyes don't want to have the same meeting about the same thing over and over again. So if we help them help us make sure the first meeting is effective, we only have to do it once, and we can always go on to something new, which is what high eyes want to do. We're telling you this as much to help the high eyes move on to something new and not have to do boring stuff over and over again, as we are to make the facilitator's life easier by keeping them contained.
And when brainstorming with high eyes, well, we want to make sure that we keep brainstorming short. The ideation phase of brainstorming needs to only last a few minutes, 15 minutes tops. Most problems don't have unlimited doable solutions, and while we encourage wild suggestions, we don't want to keep going long enough that the only suggestions are ridiculous. So giving a time limit or shortening it can help limit those tangents, because if they get an idea, then it kind of explodes, and keeping on track shorter brainstormings.
Yeah, your team will suddenly be buying zebras for no reason. You just need a herd of zebras. We don't know why, but the high eye will suggest it. They want to make brainstorming fun, and so they get caught up in telling stories and going off on tangents. And their enthusiasm and their creativity is really valuable, but their tendency to dominate and to start off-topic conversations can lead the whole group astray. If a high I is in a group with a bunch of high S's, and the high I starts to tell a story about that one time when they found a zebra, the high S's, being polite and people-focused, will carry on listening. And the high I can talk for 20 minutes and waste 20 minutes of the meeting, and the high S's won't say anything. So if we keep the ideation phase of the brainstorming short and say, okay, we've only got 2 minutes for ideas, we limit the amount of tangents that the high I can go on, and we make the whole meeting more effective overall.
A way to make sure that you keep the brainstorming part shorter is use a visible timer, which can help everyone stay on task. The high I will be reminded to stay on topic. The high D will be conscious of how much time is left and remind the team out loud. The high S's will want to make sure that everyone is heard in that time that is available. And the high C will want to make sure that everyone follows the rules of the timer. So it helps keep not just one group on track, but everybody on track for a variety of those reasons. So having a timer available will limit the tangents and make sure everyone's fabulous ideas get heard.
Exactly. The ideas for channeling the high I's energy, whether that's yours or somebody else's. I think this is a common thing. I didn't realize this when we were doing the high D, but now I think about it, there's something about the assertive styles that have more energy that needs to be channeled in a meeting. I'm making bodily shapes because I can feel that overwhelmingness of that energy that comes up for high I's when they're in a group and there's all this stuff going on. So high I's love working with people. So if we use that energy productively, we can stop them dominating the meeting. So we're going to give the high I specific tasks which leverage their strengths to encourage others. And this works whether you're a high I or you're facilitating a group with a high I in it. If you give them another task, or if you do another task at the same time as brainstorming, it will stop you becoming this dominant force that interrupts everyone and lists all your fabulous ideas about zebras. So, for example, you can ask a high I to be the cheerleader for every idea. And if they're going to do that job well, they have to be listening to everybody else's idea and then saying, wow, that's the best idea I've ever heard. You can ask them to be the person who builds on ideas. So they have to, again, be listening to other people's ideas in order to build on them or to combine them. You can ask them to be the advocate who makes sure everyone is heard. High I's love people. Hey, we love Susan. She's a little quiet. Let's make sure that we hear her ideas.
The high I can be the connector who spots how different people's ideas might work together. They are really good at making connections between ideas and people and those relationships. So this would be a great task for them to do during a brainstorming meeting, is making those connections, because their brain fires in a way to quickly figure that out. And they can be the energy keeper who maintains enthusiasm when the group starts to wane, because not everybody loves a brainstorming activity. And the high I can keep that energy level up. They are so good at the motivation, encouragement to keep people going that it would be a natural thing for them to want to do anyways. So put them in charge of it. And it's interesting, Wendy, what you were saying about the energy. I think of assertive energy as you can just see it. I mean, everyone has energy, but the reason that we're like, oh, we have to push it towards something is because you can see it. Like, you can see the movement. It's louder. It's making the eye contact. It's, I think, just more visible compared to the other profiles. Their energy is a little bit more subtle, I would say.
Assertive energy is like fizz bang, and S&C reserved energy is like the ocean or a river. It's smooth and calm, but it's super powerful. It just takes time for a river to wear away those banks, whereas a high I or a high D energy just blows it up. And, what happens when things get blown up? It's not always like a positive thing. So that's why we sometimes want to contain the energy. So if you're a facilitator and you have a high I in your group, tell your high I that you're giving them this task ahead of time. Tell them that you're doing it because you know they're good at it and that it will help the meeting be successful. So you're getting them on side. So you can say something like, I need your help. You are amazing at bringing people together and seeing the connection. So would you help us by being our connector and help spot opportunities where the different people's suggestions can combine into something even better? I'm asking you specifically because you are so great at suggesting solutions and you always find exciting ways to build on what others contribute. And that's going to help us create something amazing by bringing out the best in everybody's ideas. You might notice that I included the word amazing in there twice because those are high I buzzwords. High Is are very enthusiastic and they use... I have a friend who is high S, and sometimes I say awesome because I've lived in the US for 12 years. And she looks at me very seriously and she says, Wendy, only the universe is awesome. High Eyes would completely disagree. Like, the last coffee they had was awesome in the same way that the universe is. So that's why this ask for help is phrased slightly differently, because it's phrased for the high Eyes to hear it. And they like the word amazing.
And awesome.
Yeah.
Pardon the interruption, but if you or someone you know is being impacted by layoffs, Manager Tools is here to help with our completely free layoff survival guide. Our guide includes how to assess for warning signs, how to prepare, and what to do if you're laid off, even how you can help others who've been impacted by layoffs. Check it out today at manager-tools.com/layoff-survival-guide. Don't forget, at Manager Tools, we're here to help. Now, back to the show.
Now let's talk about how to use the high I enthusiasm for the idea. No matter what solution is chosen, a high I can see the positives and be enthusiastic about it. Back to what Wendy was just saying, that the adjectives that they use, we feel like might be extreme if you're not used to using that. Everything is awesome. It's the best day ever. So put that to good use. Put dedicated time on the agenda after the decision is made for the team to explore the merits, the upsides, and the benefits of the chosen direction. Because if anyone is good about finding the positives, the benefits, it's going to be your high Is. And let the high I lead this discussion, as their natural ability to spot opportunities and to connect ideas will help everyone see their potential. They can help the team envision success and build excitement for implementation. Because again, they are the ones that are the best motivators, the best encouragers, and their glass is not only half full all the time, it's probably real full all the time. If they can find a positive in a situation, it's going to happen. So use that to your advantage.
However, be mindful to also acknowledge any concerns or challenges that come up. So if a high C says, hey, love the idea, No, they wouldn't say that. If a high
No.
C says, there's a problem with your idea, this thing will break when you do X, you need to acknowledge that, because the high Cs are right. If the high C can see a problem, there's probably a problem. But then you can channel the high I's positive energy into generating specific ideas for overcoming those obstacles and making the solution even better. So we're not saying, hey, let the high I have a whitewash on, hey, we chose a solution, let's just all believe that it's going to be fabulous and there's going to be no problems. Hear everybody out so you hear the negatives, but allow the high I to help you get over those hills until you get everybody enthused about the solution.
This is also a time when one of the high I's stories can be very helpful.
And we say one, not one of their stories, but one, meaning not 7, just one story.
Just watch out for that tangent, because one story.
That's true. Yeah, they can turn it into 7.
But having that one supportive story, they can use it. That can illustrate a variety of different things. Some of the examples could be the story could show how efficiently the solution can be created, which will appeal to the high Ds. The story can show who will benefit from the idea. This will appeal to the high S, that they're worried about all the people involved, so who benefits from it. The story can show how effective the solution will be, which is going to appeal to your high Cs because they want solutions to everything. There's a right and a wrong, and if your story can illustrate that, that can be very beneficial. Or the story can help connect the solution to a customer, which, when it comes to results, that appeals to everybody.
Yeah, exactly.
How is this going to help our customer? Which, at the end of the day, regardless of the profile, you want to get those results.
So this leverages the high I's natural storytelling abilities, and it turns an entertaining story that they want to tell anyway into a common purpose that the team can coalesce around, and a sort of North Star for the project.
And again, you can tell the high I ahead of time that you want them to be the one who gets the enthusiasm going to energize the group to the solution, and think of a potential story ahead of time which might fit well when the solution is found or when the decision is made what they're going to go for. So prepping them ahead of time that they'll be able to tell a story and kind of giving them some guidelines on what it needs to focus on can really help get the group on board.
And don't worry, the high I will have a story. Mm-hmm. If you prep them, they'll have the right story.
Yeah.
So managing a high I in a brainstorming session, even though if we're talking about managing yourself, means finding ways to use their strengths and minimize their weaknesses, which is true for all of the styles. No team of all one style is effective. We've said this before. All high Ds will just fight, or they'll go off and do things and work counterproductive to each other and then have to come back and redo their work. All high Is in a room will just do ideas forever and never actually do any of the work. All high S's will get stuck because they're worried that any of the solutions will affect at least one person and they don't want to affect anybody negatively. All high Cs will forever be checking the details and, again, never move on to the actual solution. So you need everybody in your team. You need one of each style at least. If you're all one style, then you need to be able to step out of your own style and see how other people would see it, because otherwise your team will get stuck. High I's absolutely contribute to the success of a brainstorming session. The task is to use their energy and their ideas and their enthusiasm in a way that's directed towards the solution and moves the team on. Thanks, Amanda.
Thanks, Wendy.
Thanks, everyone. That's all for this week. Join us next week. We'll be talking about high S's and brainstorming. Bye, everyone.
Bye.